Hey guys, welcome to a reaction of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion part 2. Season 15 was a little bit boring, a little bit lackluster, but I'm telling you, this reunion brought in a lot of tea, a lot of information. Apparently, that's when it all happens at the last hour. So let's get into this recap. Let's get into some main events that have happened in this episode. Now, the main attraction was Drew Sidora and her situation with her husband, Ralph Pittman. But we did get to see a little bit of what was going on with the other ladies. But now we're getting into the friend of the show, which was this season, Courtney and Moneta. So first going into Courtney wanted a moment so badly throughout this whole season. She tried to pick a fight with Kenya. She tried to pick a whole situation with Marlo, with pretty much every lady that she interact with, okay? So, of course, what a surprise she got into it with Drew, because beginning of this whole season, Drew and cousin Courtney were like best of buddies. They were getting to know each other, feeling each other out, excited that, this new extension of the family. But worst come to worst, this whole situation backfired onto Drew. Courtney became her biggest enemy on this show. Courtney really took the side of her cousin Ralph. They're second row, third row cousins, but they consider each other family, and there's some sort of familiarity because they have grown up together as a child in their childhood. But for Courtney to go so hard against Drew, and apparently, Drew is saying that Ralph coached Courtney to pretty much have all the fighting words to go against her and pretty much embarrass her throughout this whole end of the season. Now, the bombshell that Courtney wanted to drop onto the ladies in this reunion was that the whole conversation about Drew having a plot to have her side relationship with a woman while Ralph is stuck with the bills, adopting Drew's son, and pretty much being stuck with all the responsibilities while she's out here having fun. Now we know that is exaggerated and stretched out because I think that Drew wants nothing more than to have a family, to have a relationship, have something definitive, because she was trying to define her relationship all throughout her time being on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So of course, I'm not gonna believe Courtney's lies. But Drew is not innocent and throughout this whole situation, I feel like there is some smoke in her situation with her crush Drew has on Ty, and that definitely did not help out what was already kind of on the brinks of breaking up situation marriage. So I feel like, both parties, both Drew and Ralph, have their faults into the situation, but how they're choosing to go about to address the situation is nothing but immature. Nothing but immature, and everyone has to be a victim to witness this catastrophe. Come on. Now, Drew has been consistent in coming with the props throughout this season and also last season too as well. So she throws a peach at Courtney, who desperately is seeking for one. And I feel like, okay, let's not give Courtney too much life because she's not really adding much to the conversation. It seems like she's just regurgitating pretty much everything that was already said. And, Courtney to me is not a reliable source. So she says she's getting most of her information talking about the situation uh with Drew's husband Ralph. Now, when she leaves backstage to talk and meet up with her cousin to give the update of what just went down, Ralph, he seemed a bit calm and he's just taking in the information of what just happened. And we had an awkward situation where Drew's sister passes by Ralph's room, and Courtney is in the room, and they kind of Ralph kind of looks over, and Courtney looks over too as well, and she's like trying to close the door in front of Drew's sister's face, and Drew's sister is ready to fight pretty much, and I'm like, this is not a healthy environment for Drew's sister. I want her to just to relax. She's recovering. She does not need this kind of environment, but she's gonna have her sister's back. So we know what kind of page that family is on. So I am just nothing but nervous for Ralph to get onto the stage. But before he does, we do get a little bit more information on updates of what's going on with these ladies. Okay. Now I almost skipped Manera, but Manera did give us an update. Manera, not really an update, but I feel like she was just acknowledged on how great that she has an orphanage in Africa, and Andy Cohen commended her, saying that's amazing. And Marlo even says that, okay, send me the information, I'll send money your way to donate to your orphanage. And Manetta, of course, is super happy, but she doesn't contribute much to the whole situation. So let's move on from that, okay? Now, I remember in this season, Kenya revealed to her father that she's considering to go through a surrogate to have a a sibling for Brooklyn. Now, in this reunion, she shares with us that she is no longer planning to take that route. Instead, she is going through the route of adoption, which I think is an amazing, beautiful thing. There's many kids that are out here that would love to have a home, and if it's possible that you're able to adopt, I always recommend to people that they should, given that they're ready to take on such a challenge, because it's not going to be easy. Now, Kenya said that she would prefer to adopt someone at the child at the age of 3, which I think is the perfect age because they're out of pretty much, they should be diaper trained or at least over diapers. They're walking and talking, so it don't need too much time to get through those first initial steps. So I think also as well, close in age with Brooklyn. That's amazing, beautiful thing, in which is exactly what she wanted, because I think that age difference, if she had like a newborn in Brooklyn, I think they would be so far apart. And I think what is Kenya's goal is to have a built-in best friend for Brooklyn, so she could have someone to go through in life when her mom is no longer there, okay? Which I think is a very thoughtful thing of Miss Kenya Summer, and I'm rooting for her in her journey. And I think that's a perfect grounds for her to return next season, because I would love to see her, take on this challenge, going through the adoption process and just seeing how she experienced it, and also give it attention towards it, because we have a lot of attention towards surrogacy. So it'd be beautiful to see her go through the adoption process. Now, there was a whole moment of, Kenya talking about, her in the future having more kids. But we also get to hear a little bit about Sanya and her experience of loss and how she coped with that loss. Now, Sanya revealed to us that, when she announced her pregnancy in this season, this we learned later, a little shortly after, that she actually lost that child, and it was actually quite a traumatic process. It was actually in New York, and they're filming the reunion in New York, so of course this may be triggering for her. But she shared how all the ladies have been super supportive. She ran down a whole list to see who showed up and how did they show up. And then at the end, she got to Kenya and she let everyone know that Kenya did not reach out to her. And she was kind of shocked that, she was going such a traumatic experience and that her friends, Kenya, didn't reach out to her. Now, moments like this do bring people together, even if you're not on the best of terms, even though you're not the best of friends. But Kenya, she did provide an excuse. She says she did reach out to Sanya, but for some reason that call didn't go through. I don't know, maybe Sanya had her block. I don't know. I don't know. But Kenya, she swears on pretty much everything that she did, made attempts to reach out to Sanya. And Sanya seems like she understood, because Kenya was nothing but very genuine. But Sanya did bring it up again in the same evening about this. So I know Sanya is not a person to let things go. And I feel like that this is just still a working friendship. But Kenya, she even said she wanted nothing more to be pregnant buddies with Sanya. So I did feel like that acknowledgement was truly genuine, and I don't see why would you lie about that. I don't see it as a thing, so I don't think Sanya should beat this down on Kenya. But Kenya could have always showed up, because she knows her address, could have showed up and have a conversation with Sanya, because times of grief is no joke and is not easy. But hopefully, they don't let this get in the middle of them becoming friends, because I feel like, motherhood, you need a village, you need a village and a sister, and to be in a sisterhood. So we got to experience that. For the rest of the ladies, I feel like we had a good moment with Sheree, the banter between her and Marlo about She News, and how Marlo wants to be subscribed to She News. I think that's amazing. And I feel like, Sheree has these moments that can be iconic. But I feel like she needs more follow through. Now, that brings up the whole situation and the back and forth again with her and Candy, which I wish they just let it go, because okay, we get it. You guys shade each other, but we're moving on, moving forward. Now, Sheree, before bringing in Ralph Pittman to the whole situation, Sheree brings up that, T came to her door. So apparently, someone left receipts on Miss Chateau Sheree's front door with text messages between Drew and Ty, apparently. So, everyone is very intrigued to know what was the conversations all about. And to them, I don't know how they took it. They even questioned whether they talk like that with each other to see if it was out of the normal. Drew, of course, quickly wants to shut it down and doesn't want to bring emphasis of that. And she puts the blame on, oh, this is Ralph's attempt to put down her again, embarrass her again on national television. And I feel like that's just such a distractor from the whole situation. I think there can be truth that, maybe Drew was feeling Ty, but the timing of it all is like so convenient, conveniently outrageous. Okay, I would say that, because obviously, you're having troubles in your marriage. I don't think, entertaining other parties will help benefit your whole situation. So this leads us up to Ralph showing up to the situation. Now, this season reunion, usually in the franchises, in a reunion we get to see the husbands. But then I thought about it. The the ladies are not, they don't have, well, Sanya has a man, Candy has a man, Marlo is dating, but I don't know if it's the time for him to even show up to a reunion for the, like, initial stages. Mañana has a man, but she's just a friend of the show. Sheree, she is seeing dating, and no one's gonna be showing up for her at this time. At this time, I actually wanted Roy, who's dating Kenya, to show up, because I would love to have seen him at least make an actual proper appearance. So yeah, the ladies, we're not having the men come out this reunion season, so it's only gonna be Ralph. And Drew was really upset that Ralph even showed up. But I'm like, of course he has to show up. Can we think about Real Housewives of Miami? I was hoping that Lenny Hochstein would have showed up to at least say his side, so we could at least get his perspective. But he's like, no, I'm leaving all you guys, what you guys need to know, in the courts, to go battle in the courts. So for Drew to be upset with Ralph showing up to the reunion, I feel like, come on. We all heard your side. I think it would be fair for him to at least speak his side, speak his piece, to get his side out there, because like what Drew said, her kids are gonna see this one day. So at least let him have his perspective out there, rightfully so, because there's so many allegations being thrown out. He is saying himself that it's kind of slander, defamation, because he feels that what's being put out there is not true, and he at least wants to have his side out there. So what a better place but to show up at a reunion to at least say his side. Now, is it embarrassing? Yes, but you guys, I feel like it's fair. Do you guys feel like it's not fair? Like, call me crazy, but I think it's very fair. Now, it seemed like, I don't know if I'm being manipulated as a viewer, but I feel like how Drew is handling the situation and how Ralph is handling this situation makes me kind of lean towards Ralph's side, because I feel like, Drew, she's distracting and say, oh, look over there, look this way. When anything is introduced that is not favorable to her, I feel like she does her best to distract and put down whatever is being presented. Now, with Ralph, he's like calm and cool and he has an excuse for everything. However, I do not like how, when obviously Drew wants support and wants someone to be there, and that she feels that she should at least be able to count on her husband, Ralph is not there. He is not present. He doesn't show up. He shows up for everybody else but for his wife. And I feel like that's the biggest deal breaker for me to not, be on Team Ralph, because I feel like these both of them are both wrong. Now, Ralph wants to say that, he was invited to Chocolate City, Magic Mike situation, that too, because it wasn't like an audition or anything serious, but, there's contradicting information out there. And, I feel like it's quite sad because you could tell that, Drew ultimately desperately wants him to just be her support, okay? Just be her support. Now, what was awkward for me is seeing that, information come out and, it seemed like Ralph was unaware of these text messages that were out there, which led him to believe that, Drew did have an affair on him. And he maintains that he was faithful throughout this whole situation. But now that looks quite fishy to me. I don't quite believe everything that was said in this reunion. I just know that they both in the wrong, and it's gonna be hard for their kids to watch over to see mom and dad fighting on national television, embarrassing all of us, None of them look good in this. Now, it was super awkward for me at the end when we have Miss Drew singing pretty much her breakup song to Ralph. And then Ralph, he makes me believe him, like have some partiality towards him, because he does nothing but gives her credit and say, yeah, she's a great talent, she's a great artist. And you can see Drew kind of at least happy that he acknowledges that. So I'm like, damn, this is a tough situation. I'm happy I'm not in it. But apparently Sheree is being dragged into this whole situation because she is just the bone carrier. And I guess she earned her spot sitting right next to Andy because she was the one to close out this whole reunion when I felt like it started to dry up at the end. It started to get real boring at the end. So she gives her pretty much her toes, which I thought was lackluster. And I felt like, yeah, this season, I don't know if y'all gonna come back next time. Even Andy's like, oh, I can't wait to see Sanya's kid being born on Christmas and will be introduced. But I felt like, okay, we may not even get to see any of these ladies next season. I wish the best for Drew and Ralph. Everyone seemed to want them to stick it out and work things out. I am a supporter of that because I feel like, they have kids together, they have established stuff together. It's just they have to work on, the respect. And for me, I think at the end, I think what will help to resolve their whole situation is that they get a new therapist, because I feel like Dr. Kent was so hard on Drew's side, and I could see how Ralph kind of felt like left out. They didn't have nobody to at least rally his perspective or have consideration of his perspective. So I think if to make this work in the future, and it seems like Ralph wants to make this work, and it seems like Drew wants to make this work, I think they have to just, really, really, really have a plan of action how they want to proceed as a couple together. Like, what does that look like? And can they agree on those terms? And could it be a thing that happens and comes natural? Because if it can't, you can't force something that's not going to shake, okay? You can't force it. So, guys, I want to know what you guys think about the Real Housewives of Atlanta this season. I know what you. I know. But I got to ask, honey. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, share as much kindness as possible. Bye, guys. Hopefully, we get a new, better season coming seasons, because that Sweet 16. We're gonna get some surprises. Who's gonna show up? But I'm gonna be there for you guys to let you know what's up. Bye.